Have you ever actually looked at the flag on one of those massive container ships out at sea? Well, it's way more than just a piece of cloth. That flag is your key to a hidden world of policy, a world that secretly dictates the price of your phone and can even tip the scales of global military power. Today, we're diving deep into the surprisingly fascinating world of maritime policy.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the two big ideas that basically shape all shipping policies everywhere. Then, we'll try to solve the puzzle of America's really strange approach, see how Asian countries do it differently with their national champions, and then get into why governments do all this in the first place. We'll wrap it all up with the high-stakes balancing act that every single country has to play.
All right, let's kick this off with a real head-scratcher. Why on earth does oil drilled in Alaska have to be shipped down to California on a really expensive American ship with an American crew when a foreign ship could do the exact same job for way cheaper? The answer to this little puzzle, believe it or not, gets us right to the heart of the biggest fight in global shipping.
And that question leads us directly to our first big topic. You see, at the core of any country's maritime policy, there's this one fundamental choice you have to make. Are you trying to help the people who own the ships, or are you trying to help the businesses that use the ships?
This really shows you the divide. On one side, you've got what's called the owner-benefit model. This is big in places like South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. For them, having a strong, nationally owned fleet is a source of pride and, frankly, power. Then on the other side, you've got the shipper's perspective, and its biggest champion is the USA. This approach is all about one thing: keeping shipping costs as low as possible for businesses, even if that means most of the ships sailing into your ports are foreign-owned.
So, the key to our Alaskan oil puzzle is a single word: cabotage. This is the policy that says all shipping between 2 points inside a country has to be done by that country's own ships. It's a classic protectionist move, and it's the reason that oil has to travel on an American ship.
Okay, so now let's dig into the US, because it's a really interesting paradox. America is the world's biggest cheerleader for that low-cost shipper perspective, right? But at the same time, it has these super strict protectionist rules like cabotage. So what gives? Well, the answer comes down to just two words: national security.
To really get what's going on, we have to rewind the clock a bit. It wasn't always like this, you know. Just a few decades ago, the U.S. was an absolute maritime superpower. I mean, companies like American President Lines and Sealand, they were the giants of global logistics. They ruled the world's trade routes.
So what happened? Well, the US went all in on that shipper perspective. The goal was cheap shipping above all else. But this put American shipping companies in a really tough spot. Their labor costs were higher, so they just couldn't compete. The result? A massive wave of acquisitions. Iconic American brands like Sealand got snapped up by foreign giants like Denmark's Maersk.
This explains why the U.S. still hangs on to a small but very heavily protected fleet. To make absolutely sure it has ships ready to go in a crisis, the government uses a few key tools. It pays subsidies to help U.S.-flagged ships cover their higher costs, and it uses these cargo reservation laws, which is why all military cargo, government mail, and domestic trade, like our Alaskan oil, has to be on American ships. At the end of the day, this small fleet is maintained for one reason, and one reason only: national security.
All right, now let's flip the coin and look at how Asia does it with their national champions. For these countries, it's not just about having a few ships in reserve for a rainy day. No, for them, shipping is a powerful tool for both economic growth and strategic influence. It's a whole different mindset.
Just take South Korea. The shipping industry there is so vital that it brings in a whopping 25% of the entire country's foreign exchange earnings. Think about that. We're not just talking about another business sector here. This is a foundational pillar of their national economy.
And this success isn't an accident. It's by design. Korea's policies have built this incredible ecosystem around shipping. They're one of the top 3 shipbuilders in the world, right alongside China and Japan. So by supporting their shipping companies, they're also boosting their own massive shipbuilding industry. It creates this amazing, self-reinforcing cycle of growth.
Over in Asia, the connection between the military and commercial shipping is, well, it's not subtle. This quote about Taiwan's Young Ming Line really says it all. If the military needs ships, there's no debate, there's no negotiation. These huge commercial shipping lines are instantly called into service. They are, for all intents and purposes, an arm of the state.
And for an island nation like Taiwan, you can see why this is so important. I mean, the stakes are unbelievably high. A full 90% of their trade depends on the sea. So for them, having a strong, nationally controlled shipping fleet isn't just a nice economic bonus. It's a matter of survival. It's about national independence.
So we've looked at two totally different ways of doing things in the US and Asia. But underneath it all, what are the goals they share? Why do governments feel the need to get so deeply involved in the shipping business in the first place?
You know, it's funny. Whether you're backing your ship owners or your shippers, a lot of the fundamental goals are actually the same. Every nation wants to support its military, right? But the US does it by keeping a small fleet in its back pocket, while Taiwan basically makes its entire commercial fleet part of its defense plan. They both want to promote trade, but one focuses on low costs for their importers, while the other focuses on building an export machine. The real difference isn't the goals themselves, but which ones they prioritize and how they try to achieve them.
And that brings us to the big takeaway. At the end of the day, it's all a really delicate balancing act. Every single nation is caught in this constant tug of war between the ideals of global free trade and the cold, hard realities of national interest.
This is the fundamental conflict right here. On one side, you've got organizations like the World Trade Organization pushing for open markets, less regulation, more competition. That global competition is exactly why your sneakers or your laptop can be made halfway across the world and shipped here so cheaply. But on the other side, you've got this powerful pull of national interest, the need to have a secure fleet ready for a crisis, and the desire to protect important industries and jobs at home. Every maritime policy we've talked about is just an attempt to find the right balance between these two powerful, competing forces.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In our modern world, with its incredibly complex and fragile supply chains, and with global tensions seemingly on the rise, is the whole idea of a powerful national fleet just an outdated relic from another time? Or is it actually a more critical, more strategic asset now than it has ever been before? The answer to that question is going to shape the future of global trade for all of us.